conclusion, the eventual resolution from the folk-loving psychology of the masses and the crowds who say they're Marxist and they're Antifa and their Black Lives Matter now, and their insistence to observe, remove, and eliminate the distractions they identify and describe and write about in their manifestos, in their literature, taught in classrooms across the country, where they say there's racists, bad folks and people who don't care about equality and diversity, and especially culture and the freedom of the artist to explain visually what their brain has processed mentally and their mind has said in the language and the words and the letters they've approved in their Sharia law and their urban tribal code of responsibility and ethics now. Has to do with surrendering. What Jesus would say in Christianity has to do with letting God have the power and the control, the restrictions and the limits. In learning about the freedom his writings suggest now. Prisons are a good indication and an immense amount of information and data over the years and through the centuries to explain the ability of a human to deny life on earth to another living, breathing person now. And all the accomplishments during the pandemic now with coronavirus, and the City Council of Seattle shrinking and saying to the police officer, they're the problem now. Are in the Bible described as Genesis, the rebirth of Christ in the New Testament. And those who aren't successful with the tactics and the strategies and the choices from Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks and Nelson Mandela, involve a pleasure, an aggression, and voyeuristic practice with rituals for getting high, getting messed up, and getting funky with one another now, in front of the families, to teach those young ones, those babies and those children and those kids about their culture, their dialect, their ethnicity, and their bravery now. For overthrowing the government they want to fund their services and denounce as racist and violent and disgusting. Ignoring a duality caused by the confusion and lack of summation in their ideology and their philosophy. Now, the humans I'm describing are forcing those who don't want their beliefs, requests and demands and requirements to have no mind, no voice, no soul. Dead, dying, close to death and near the end. Of decision making and logic and response. When the social worker, counselor, in the group from Facebook and Twitter pound on the door and whisper to the building, they've got a new shipment and they've identified the snitch, who's a rat, and before the product gets distributed needs to be silenced and quieted and not allowed to go up to the roof of the building with the apartments and down to the exit of the house with the rooms where they live and do meth. Now, everyone who argues for a birth rate, a better world, a better civilization with less people telling other people's bodies what to do and other people deciding whose minds are healthy and whose mental state has inconsistency, to shelter, build bunkers in some places of the country now, and to be self-aware, conscious of emotions and difficulties those in the cities and the states and the parts of those locations have on a daily basis, living as a queer and living as someone who doesn't have a penis, someone whose vagina has a gold-plated, riveted, manufactured exterior. Now, and especially those bullies who say they can't go to the corner and buy the drug instead of the cheeseburger at McDonald's. And the pistol they carry to enforce their rules and their laws on the cultural landscape of their restrictions and their control. Earth now can pull the trigger, shoot the gun, and fill the pussy with the sperm from the rap artist and the singing professional in the studio have ready to make the babies they need to sell the pills they manufacture and keep the prostitutes, the sluts, the hoes, and the soldiers from getting bored, lazy, and less productive to make their money, their dollars, their Bitcoin, their cents, and their sales. Now,